Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast in a game between Empire Kaz and Millennium's Adel here on Shattered Temple. Want to make sure I set up my away signal so I do not get disturbed during this particular matchup. We have Empire Kaz spawning as the red Terran player at the 3 o'clock position. Meanwhile, Adel, almost said Adel Scott, shout out to Dollhouse. Adel, I don't know why I said Adel Scott. Anyways, Adel spawning over here at the 8 o'clock position. Yeah, just completely ignore what I say there, as Millennium versus Empire here on Shattered Temple. Game 1 between these two players. Empire, I believe, taking the game. It's been a little bit of time since I'm casting in between these games, as I had to go do something. But hopefully you guys are watching these games in order. Now, Shattered Temple cross-spawn, full cross-spawn is going to be an interesting matchup here, just because of the way the game can be played out. You can see that, you can see Kaz over here now getting up that supply depot, and because of the longer walking distances, we may see a use of this one particular Zonaga and Watchtower. Now, this is Shattered Temple, as I said, and both players may not know where the other player has already spawned, so I don't think they particularly know what strategy they're going to be going for until they have actively scouted out their opponent. It's not like they're a Zerg player where they have to almost be forced to try to run off of 2 bases early on. Both Protoss and Terran are pretty capable of dealing some significant amount of damage off of 1 base. Kaz currently just setting up a barracks over here, will be training up some Marines in just a moment, and then having them run out of there. Meanwhile, we are going to get the assimilator, 3 probes in there in just a moment, and now we should be upgrading to an orbital command, training up a Marine. But Kaz has not set up a refinery yet. That is the reason why he has so many additional minerals. And what is he going to be doing with those additional minerals? Is he actually going to be gutsy enough to try to go for a 16 or 17 command center? Only time will tell. That a mule will be able to help him out tremendously. As a Marine now out, this is obviously not a Reaper expand. No, this is a 16 command center after a barracks, and now there you go, calling in the mules, calling in the additional resources, and that is going to help out Kaz tremendously. The Adel right now, if he did decide to go for a 4-gate, would be able to deal a lot of damage, and now currently see 1 probe being trained out of there. If this is the last probe to be trained, then that would be an indication of a 4-gate, but that is not the case, as Adel now wandering around trying to check where where his opponent has in fact spawned. And now with 1 Marine on the ramp and a 2nd Marine, oh, not even a 2nd Marine coming in yet, that probe may be able to get up the ramp and see just enough sight. There, he was smart in trying to put away that command center just a little bit further away, and now in comes the Marine. The Marine now going to get some damage onto that probe, trying to make sure that the Marine shoots down the probe before the probe gets up the ramp, and there it is. So still playing in the dark. Adel now putting out an expansion of his own. So both players expanding before the 4-minute 30-second mark, but this expansion is nearing completion already. We are getting 1 refinery, 2nd refinery now coming into play, as we should be upgrading to an orbital command. And now Kaz is going to have a very strong economic advantage going into the mid-game. Now, very, very lucky that Kaz did not actually spawn over, or Adel did not spawn here. Otherwise, an early Zealot, an early Stalker pressure would have done a lot of damage, but perhaps he did do a scouting report on Adel, knowing that he plays a little bit more conservatively and tries to expand a little bit more quickly, and because of that expanded on his own as well. We have 5 Marines guarding the ramp. We already have a bunker now being placed down. 2 bunkers should be more than enough to fend off against any early aggression, as those bunkers are able to protect the valuable Marines inside, have an additional +1 armor, and have 400 hit points, so that is always very, very helpful as well. You can see now those Marines looking for perhaps a proxy pylon, doesn't see one, and now Kaz has to like where he is currently situated, already at an orbital command. You can see the Nexus is over here. It is being chrono boosted, but it does not have enough energy yet in order to call down, or not call down mules, but cast chrono boost at this time. And now economy, taking a look at the harvesters, 31 harvesters compared to 28, but you should see that Kaz has a slight advantage, especially with the additional mules that he will be able to call in. You can see 1 mule at each location, and now a factory should be adding on a starport soon, a reactor soon, in order to double train medevacs. Not quite sure what Kaz is doing at this stage, as that starport will be up and running in just a moment. Now getting the combat shield and stim pack. Concussive shells have not been researched yet, as those units are now making their way out. The Zealots of Adel and a Sentry also trying to clear out the destructible rocks very early on. An SCV just taking a beating from a Stalker, trying to deny that Zelnaga watchtower, and now has nothing to show for it except for a bunch of spare parts of SCV. Empire Kaz still sitting pretty happy at this stage, 54 over 54 compared to 57 over 68. Kaz still needs to be very careful. He has not been doing a good job of staying on top of his macro. He is now significantly behind. 7 food and still supply lock, so he is not going to be able to train up any additional SCVs as well. And now you are seeing a larger discrepancy between Adel and Kaz. So Kaz needs to do something with his units. I believe Kaz does have a decent army. Army supply is slightly higher. What, 24? So yeah, higher, 24 compared to 18, but 37 compared to 46. And now you are seeing two Marauders and 4 Marines? No, just 2 Marauders making their way out. And I'm not quite sure why only 2 Marauders in this drop. There are 4 Marines ready to go, especially as Stim Pack and Combat Shield. This may be an oversight by Kaz. Kaz not realizing that that is not a full medevac. And now just trying to make his way out with and try to deal some damage with this one particular medevac there. We are seeing a Twilight Council come into play, a Photon Cannon already in play, as well as Adel now establishing his 3rd base. Army-wise, on production-wise, we can see a lot of Raxes now still being trained. This is a 4 Rax build, 1 reactor, a lot of Marines and Marauders, and this is going to be very, very helpful to Kaz, as we do not see any, what's it called yet, any robotics facility, and with no robotics facility, that is going to be significantly helpful, as there are not going to be any Colossus. Well, that 1 Photon Cannon getting some decent damage there, and now the medevac sniping in some damage, and no concussive shell. Yeah, this is a complete just 180 on what you expect a drop to be. He researched Combat Shield and Stim Pack, and then didn't bring any Marines along. Kaz just probably kicking himself right now for not really dealing that much damage. A full medevac of Marines would have been able to shut down perhaps the Forge. You can see the level 1 or level 2 ground armor already completed. Wow. So Adel very aggressive with his armor upgrades, and now those Marauders are only dealing 8 damage per attack. The Stalker now coming in as well. The Stalkers do have blink. Why aren't they blinking? Ugh. Yeah, Adel had blink, could have caught up to that medevac. The medevac was down to 72 hit points already, very low, 28 damage per round of attack, and that would have been just more losses once again. The medevacs, Marines, and Marauders are on the move. 1-0 upgrades nearing completion. The ground armor upgrade, or the ground weapons attack upgrade, is not being chrono boosted. Yeah, see, I can tell by the timers on that is not being chrono boosted. And the medevacs are now looking to push out and deal some damage. Kaz going to come in over here and now put some pressure on this. So this 3rd base is going to get destroyed very easily, and Adel, without enough army presence and no observers to see that these rocks are currently getting destroyed. Adel does see that there is something over here now, but does Adel actually spot it? I do not believe. No, he does see it now. The Zealot's now trying to run up the ramp. Charge already being upgraded as well. We need to get Guardian Shield. Stalkers already coming in. Photon Cannon in position. Stalkers are already early there, and now in comes that Sentry just getting destroyed already. In comes the Force Fields. But now, Kaz, with such a strong army of Marines and Marauders, just simply taking apart this over here. Adel now trying to make his way over with these Marauders and Marines, and not dealing a significant amount of damage at all against this Marine Bio Ball here. Just using that Stim Pack very, very effectively. The Zealots do not have charge. Force Field coming in, but not going to really do all that much at all, as the Stalkers should perhaps be trying to focus down onto those medevacs instead. You can see the damage being dealt across both sides, and now a nice stim, or a nice blink there, as the damage is starting to be dealt, and now, another round of blink perhaps should have been able to finish off the rest of that, but the loss is really racking up for Adel. Adel just getting completely schooled as Kaz is playing a very simple Marine Marauder, very heavy macro style of building. Five Raxes, one with the reactor, just training up a lot of Marauders and Marines, and somehow Adel not going Colossi, not going High Templar, getting absolutely destroyed here on Shattered Temple so far. Taking a look at the army supply, 83 versus 50, worker supply, 55 versus 63. So we can still see that there is a slight economic advantage for Adel, but that is not going to stand for very much longer, as the armies are going to once again battle it out. And now in comes an elevator drop up onto the high ground, and the Marauders now going to come in over here, as the Medevacs now coming in over here, dropping in. The Marauders and the Marines going to try to engage, but now the Marauders and the Marines are over here as well, so the Marauders could easily fight back over here, but straight into the base, hitting down the many of those production buildings. The Nexus already low on hit points, down it goes. Stalker's now blinking up as well, as the Marauders and the Marines are trying to fight here, but one base is already destroyed as the Zealots continue to try to charge in, get some damage. The Marines are upgraded 2-0, Stalkers are upgraded 1-2, as the Sentries with Guardian Shield finally able to do something, but the Marauders coming back in, getting more damage once again, and sniping down another Nexus. Oh, folks, Adel is definitely in trouble now. It doesn't matter how many probes you have if you only are mining off of one base. The walk of shame coming in from Adel, with Adel doing some long-distance mining with a major group now, and Adel now needs to try to win the game with what he has. Now doing a counterattack, trying to push back. Zealots are going to try to engage, and there is a planetary fortress to try to fend off this attack here, and now SCVs need to start repairing. SCVs are not repairing for some reason, as the Marauders and the Marines are coming in. There's the force fields, but the planetary fortress has already gotten some significant damage across the board. Zealots are once again trying to engage. No Guardian Shield yet, as those Marauders continuing to push in, and Adel now taking a beating once more, as the Marauders are going to be able to chase off the rest of these Stalkers, and I believe that has got to be GG by Adel. Adel finally, no, doesn't have a Nexus up here or here yet, and as you take a look at the income difference, oh, not that big of a difference, as a lot of SCVs were lost in that particular engagement. Oversaturation over here, the command center now being rebuilt, so it looks like Adel was actually able to do a decent amount of damage by sniping down the planetary fortress. But the production is not slowing down by any stretch of the imagination. You can see, 5 Marauders and 7 Marines. So, what is that? 27 food currently being trained out at a time. Meanwhile, the production of these gateways down over here, 4 gateways, 6 gateways in total, should be able to train up, what is that, 6, 12, 24 food at a time. So Adel, as long as he is able to keep essentially zero cooldown on those warp gates, should be able to keep up in terms of that army, but it doesn't look like he is able to, as now Kaz coming in. The units are upgraded 2-2 against the 2-1 units. The Sentries could have used some Guardian Shields pretty effectively. Zealots now trying to make their way out. The Zealots, with Zealot charge, should have been able to deal a lot more damage. And now, both sides are battling it out. And you can see the battle now engaging. No force field just quite yet. That ball of units doing such a great job, just constantly stutter-stepping their way. And there's the GG by Adel. So Kaz taking an early advantage in this game and never letting go, forcing Adel to just mine off of one base, do that walk of shame, and there's the GG finally. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay between Empire's Kaz and Millennium's Adel. Best of 3 matchup, only 2 games in the series, as Kaz was able to take both of them.